Dianne with Biters.
And this is Marnell,
And I am just here to say, what the Nick?
she said in her raspy, sexy voice.
Right. Well, that's right. I am here with my Negan scar. I am Negan.
It's so good to have you back. Not that I don't love podcasting with Phil, but Phil doesn't keep me on topic, on schedule. We didn't do our ratings until three-quarters of the way through. He's just he's the cat's away, the mice will play. He isn't the other mouse.
So what you're saying is I'm the rigid, anal retentive one.
No, not at all.
No, not a bit. I would never say that.
You're the adult in the room.
Oh, God. God help us all.
Oh, did you ever think anybody be accusing you of being the adult?
No, I once made the mistake of saying out loud that I thought I was the smartest person in the room, and that didn't go over very well, so...
Well, if you judge a fish by how well it climbs a tree, if you judge a fish by how well it climbs a tree, it would go its entire life thinking it's stupid.
Right. Einstein, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
We all have our fortes.
Yes.
And apparently linear topic stuff is not mine.
Or Phil's, but that's okay. I love you both, and I appreciate that he came in and pinch hit for me while I was out, so...
It's a fun change of pace. It switches it up. I realized I had never podcasted without you, so it was really, really terrifying.
Actually, you had once before, because you guested on a Capes and Lunatics episode that I wasn't able to be on.
Okay, well, it doesn't count that, I podcasted with Brian.
Oh, okay.
I guess I had podcasted without you, but I hadn't podcasted without an adult.
Did you hear that, Phil? You're not an adult.
Phil's not an adult. Phil's younger than me, isn't he?
I don't know.
I'm
never
pretty sure
asked him. A lady doesn't ask.
Oh, man, every birthday's a gift, you know?
At this point, yes, it is.
The more that I have, the longer I live. So it's totally fine. I'm 38, and I'm good with it. So, yeah, I think Phil's a year or two younger than me.
Just a pup. Just a wee pup. All right.
So, yes, it is good to have Dianne back.
Well, thank you. It's good to be back.
Fighting shape.
I dragged my carcass out.
We are podcasting late, but that's more me than you. I don't know.
It's definitely us. We're like the real sick housewives of Alaska this week.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here with my ginger and lemon tea.
Oh, I'm wine all the way. I'm three-quarters of a bottle in.
Whoop whoop. So we have episode 3, season 4, which was Good Out Here. So what's your rating?
You know, mine is a surprising high of 4.2 jars of pimentos.
Oh my god, mine is 4.25 out of 5 stick-based traumas. So we were right on it, and it's keeping its promise. It's staying up there for us.
Yeah, and I just, this season is really hitting all the marks. I gotta say the new showrunners were on Talking Dead,
yes.
And they're really pulling their weight.
Pretty brutal though. Pretty brutal this week.
But, we've gone 3 seasons going, they should just kill the entire cast off and start over.
Well, we thought they did.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're listening right now.
Well, so I have another thing for Whisperer's Corner that actually just reminded me, so I'll hold it for that.
Excellent.
So I do have a few numbers, seeing as you and Phil didn't have any last week.
Told you. We had some, I just don't know if they were right.
Well, so Another Day in the Diamond had 3.066 million live plus same day views. It was 22nd overall in cable ratings for the week, and it was 18th in the 18 to 49 group for cable ratings for its week.
Respectable.
Yeah, actually, quite. It was behind news and playoffs, so NBA playoffs.
Sports ball.
Sports ball, yes. So it actually did pretty well, and these numbers are higher numbers than it got overall last season. So it's doing pretty well. It's hanging on to some viewers. And
Yeah.
we actually have podcast late enough that I've got the numbers for this week too.
Oh, awesome. Do you want to?
2.71 million, so a little lower than last week, but not a lot lower.
Okay. And, given the given, I'm sure the people who dropped off between week 2 and week 3 are going to go back and watch this episode because, damn.
They might. You would hope that they do. It was a pretty big episode.
Unexpectedly so, yes.
Yes. So, title, Good Out Here. Obviously, it refers to Madison looking for the good when she goes out into the world.
Right.
Did you have anything else for it?
I didn't. Other than Nick was so bent on staying, in the diamond that he didn't want to go out there, and I guess he shouldn't have.
And wasn't his reveal for why he didn't want to leave the diamond interesting?
Yes. Yes.
So, and I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yep.
Well, so the writer was a first-time writer for Fear. His name was, I hope I don't blow this, Shintaro Shimasawa. I do not speak Japanese, so my apologies to anyone who does. He was the producer for last week's episode, but this was his first writing credit for Fear the Walking Dead. And he has lots of producer credits, but only other random writing credits for things like Criminal Minds, Dead Zone, Crossing Jordan.
All good shows.
Yeah. I mean, I picked and some other stuff that I didn't recognize, so I certainly picked the names of things that I recognized. But it was interesting. I kind of felt like they're picking some names we haven't seen before. They're getting some people writing and directing that we haven't seen before, which is pretty cool.
Well, and so some other producer credits for him are Zoo, which I think I've watched the first season and a half of, and it's decent. There's definitely some things that take precedent over it in my queue. But The Following, which is a really good show, unfortunately it ended. It had Kevin Bacon in it, so you really can't go wrong. But it was about kind of an FBI agent dude that investigates cults, which was super
how interesting.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it ended. So, so for me, those are some big acting chops and some solid producing and it looks like writing credits for him.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then our director was Dan Liu, who actually directed Some Guy, which was the Ezekiel heavy episode of Walking Dead last season.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that we're already saying last season about that season, but
No.
in fact, and he's actually only got 4 directing credits. He's got this one for Fear, the one for Walking Dead, and then a couple of short films.
So, Some Guy was a really good episode of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, it was definitely one of my favorites.
I think that definitely gave him the in for being on Fear the Walking Dead. He looks like he's got some big editorial credits.
Yeah, he's got tons of editing credits, including quite a bit of work on The Walking Dead proper.
Yeah, The Walking Dead webisodes, and also a show called Salem, which I have watched. It's one of those CW shows that it's loosely based on Salem when there were supposedly witches, and the show there really were witches. It's kind of a Vampire's Diary-ish show, but with witches.
Oh, that sounds kind of fun.
Yeah, it is really good. It's very female-centric and kind of teen angsty, but with lots of blood and gore.
Kind of Buffy for us wanted set versus the bladed set.
Yes. We are the granddaughters of the witches you failed to burn.
That's right.
So excellent.
So,
Very-
let's see. I did have a couple of things for Whisperer's Corner, which one of them we revealed in our crossover with Capes and Lunatics,
Yes.
which was
It,
that Ross Marquand actually got a small place in the Marvel Universe.
I'm so happy.
So,
Like,
you want to go ahead and share what it was?
so, from the, I think it was it the Captain America?
I think
With,
so,
with
yes.
Red Skull.
Yeah.
So they did not bring back the regular actor, and this is a total spoiler alert for anyone who has not seen Avengers. It's kind of already out there, so you may have seen it, but Ross Marquand
It's a small
played,
spoiler, but a spoiler nonetheless.
yes, he played Red Skull, and if you're thinking, Red Skull died in Captain America, yes, he did, but apparently in the MCU, when you die, you don't always die, especially when you die in kind of a magical way. So, Ross Marquand was Red Skull.
Kind of like The Walking Dead. You don't always die when you die.
Yeah, no,
Like
definitely.
Glenn. Until you really die.
Or Nick, who has died, but we're going to continue to see him for the rest of the season.
I don't know about the rest of the season, but at least a fair portion of the rest of the season.
Until we catch up to current timeline.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
So,
And that said, so Thomas O'Mara brought this up, and I was like, no, that's not true. I can't believe that. But Frank Delane actually asked to be killed off.
yes, and that was revealed on The Talking Dead.
That's what Thomas had said, and I missed that on The Talking Dead. I only watched it once. I didn't go back and rewatch it. So I did some skulking around on the internet and found several stories that confirmed it. I was kind of disappointed to hear that, but we decided to make Frank Delane our featured cast member, and I can kind of see why when I look at some of the stuff about him as featured cast.
Yeah, yeah. So, are we into featured cast?
There was one other thing I had for Whisperer's Corner, and now I can't remember what. Oh, so this is a terrible spoiler. So anybody who doesn't want spoiler, 3, 2, 1, fast forward for about a minute. So I'm reading all of these different reviews of this episode today, and there are people who are speculating that the reason that Nick was so angry and so bent on revenge is that they're saying that Madison's dead, and he's revenging Madison's death.
I could totally see that.
Right? You could
Yeah.
totally see that, but is it true?
Well, we keep talking about how we haven't seen her in current time. So where is she? Everyone's together but her. Maybe she's off with what's her name from Dharma and Greg.
Jenna Elfman.
Yeah, maybe she's off with Jenna Elfman somewhere because she's the only other one that's not there. But I can totally see that because that really did come out of left field. You know, like people have done worse and have gotten less. So
Right, Nick's got a reason for being so angry, so what is his reason?
I mean, he battled Morgan and took off after that El Camino with a knife.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's my big spoiler in Whisperer's Corner.
And that was just about a minute, so if you're skipping, stop!
And I don't know that it's true, but it might be.
It might be. What is true anymore?
Before, after, now, then, I don't know.
What is real life? It's all fake news.
You know what? Since we saw The Avengers, I don't think anything is true.
No, nothing is real.
No Avengers spoilers, though. We swore we wouldn't do any spoilers other than the one that we just did about Ross Marquand.
We live on the other side of the mirror. Like, my universe split off after the election. I wound up in the wrong parallel timeline.
And yet you're here with me somehow.
The parallel timeline that I lose a bet and have to dress up as Sarah Palin.
Which you all have to watch Capes and Lunatics to see it.
Yep. I wasn't in character 100% of the time because nobody can take that for an hour.
But man, you looked great.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
So
It was
check
pretty good.
out Phil's YouTube channel for Capes and Lunatics because it's worth taking a look.
I really wish that we had been recording when I flashed onto the screen for the Google Hangout. Phil lost it.
That's
Like
awesome.
I didn't know that he was coming back from that. I mean, I thought I had done some permanent damage to him. I know that my other half, still looks at me a little funny, and I terrified my dogs for the day.
Oh
So,
my god, that's hilarious.
yeah. So definitely go check out the Capes and Lunatics YouTube channel for our Infinity Wars roundup. I think we're 50.1?
No, we're 50.2.
50.2. Okay. Yeah. So definitely go check that out if you have time to actually sit down and watch something visually and not just listen to it on a podcast.
And I gotta tell you, got a little bit of a crush on Maz. He was pretty cool.
I love Moz. I think we need to do more with Moz.
Yeah, we need some more Maz in our lives.
Yeah, yeah. And Moz, you need to like do more on your Twitter because you gave your Twitter is kind of, but like your Twitter stuff's old, dude. Do I need to Facebook friend you?
I did.
Okay, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, totally should.
Moz friended.
Look out now.
I see you. He was fun.
Yeah, he was. It was super
And
fun.
Jesse Jackson, DFW, if you ever need to know anything music related for like shows, movies, or just music, he's your guy.
Oh yeah, Jesse's a seriously good dude. If you're a Bruce Springsteen fan, check out his podcast, Set Lusting Bruce.
Or the one that he recommended to us.
Oh God, you'll have to pull up your Facebook because you sent me her.
I did. I'm a Real Alaskan Girl. Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wish I were a Real Alaskan Girl by Marian Call. It is the funniest and truest little song. Like, it's so funny. And thank you, Jesse Jackson, for pointing that out to us. That was great.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool panel of people.
It was. We need to do it more often.
I agree.
Instead of like a book club, we need like a movie club.
A podcasters club.
Yeah.
So Frank Delane, who we had talked about in the very first season of Fear, and I actually think that was probably me and Brian.
Probably.
I don't think it was you and me.
No, I don't think I had looked into him this much. He's a squirrely one to try and nail down on anything. If you watch any of the cast interviews, he stays pretty quiet. He doesn't have a huge social media presence. Kind of whatever is out there about him just kind of seems to be repeated through other things. Like if you go to his IMDb page, you can find that out on his Wikipedia page, or there's some fan stuff that's done on YouTube, and it's got like kind of the same facts over and over. Excuse me.
It sounds like he's a real jokester, though. I mean, the way that the cast was talking about him, it sounds like they really enjoyed working with him.
Yeah, he does seem to be a very kind of funny indie guy. Like it's funny. I think he really just wants to act. It doesn't have to be in front of a camera for a lot of money. He just likes to act. And he does have a band.
Oh, he does. I didn't see that.
Okay, so I'm going to have to send you some of his music
Oh,
because
cool.
it's actually it's kind of folksy.
So I have turned into a giant Emily Kinney fan because of her affiliation with The Walking Dead, so I would love to hear what Frank Delane is doing.
So his band is called Tinker Wright, Wright.
Okay.
And he is the lead singer, bass guitarist, and he plays harmonica.
I think I remember saying that about him when we featured him a million years ago.
And there's only 3 songs on SoundCloud, but people have filmed when he's been at live events. And so there's much more on YouTube.
Oh,
and,
cool.
Okay, close your eyes and imagine traveling across the United states, like the flat, dusty states, and having like kind of a folksy car band, just kind of lulling you along on your journeys or your travels. And it's very relaxed and folksy and fun. And I really do like his music. I hope that he pursues it more now that he's kind of, got the big acting bug kind of out of his system. He seems to be he gets compared to Johnny Depp a lot.
He does.
Not just because of his looks, but he has kind of a very weird mannerism and cadence to himself that Johnny Depp has. And that he's very nonplussed about everything that goes on around him. He's not interested in stardom or fandom or anything like that. And what's funny is he says that working on the Harry Potter movies where he was Tom Riddle.
Right, I was thinking I am probably the only person on the planet who forgot that he played Tom Riddle.
So at 16, which he looked like a baby at 16, at 16 he played Tom Riddle in the Harry Potter movies, and so he had sort of already been prepared for this crazy fandom already. And so when he started on Fear the Walking Dead, he was kind of used to already having this built-in fan base that's like entirely rabid. So he was just very nonplussed about, everything that goes on around him, just the fans and the lights and the cameras and all the movie sets and things like that. The lifestyle actually doesn't appeal to him, which is a lot of reason I think he asked to bow out in season 3.
Mm-hmm. And I think that he just wanted to pursue different acting opportunities. I think the lifestyle of being in a series was not really for him.
Right, and I guess he does get very homesick for England, and so I could actually see him going back to England. And I gotta say, there are some shows that are coming out of the UK that are phenomenal. So, like, hook up with one of those, and we'll see you again on the flip side, Frank.
So, I gotta tell you, he's a baby. I mean, he just barely graduated from acting school before he landed the job with Fear the Walking Dead.
But he graduated from, like, what is basically the Hogwarts of acting school.
Sure, he graduated from the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, but in 2013. So, I mean, he really had just finished school before he landed this job with Fear, which is pretty incredible.
But, his character is so spot on. And one of the major facts that you'll come across when looking through any of his stuff was one of the ways he prepared for the roles of Nick was he read the 1821 autobiographical novel Confessions of an Opioid Addict by De Quincey.
Yes, I remember reading that. Not the book, the factoid. Yeah.
Yes. And he also had a friend who was an addict for between 15 and 20 years. And he got clean, but he's always remained having this sort of childlike wonder about the world. He never kind of grew out of about the age of 16. And even though he's an older person now, he's kind of a kid and an older person. There's that the years that they missed being a kid, so they're sort of experiencing that, but they're older people now and having old. So it's just a very weird mix of so that's what he based the Nick character on, are those two things. And I think he did a phenomenal job that not only portraying, and he says in the show that he wasn't portraying a drug addict, he was portraying an addict.
Interesting.
And we see that throughout the show that it's not just drugs or opiates or anything like that that drive him. It's the next high. Whatever that is, it's the next high. You know, he threw himself into farming, and, you know, for him, that was the next high. So, yeah, I love the way that he produced or did his character, and I think it really resonated.
So what kind of stuff did you look at or watch to prepare for featured cast?
It was very, very difficult. So he does have a Twitter account, Delane F at Twitter, but he so sparsely posts. I mean, most of the stuff was for the premiere of season 2. He doesn't post that often. He tries to stay away from social media, and he seems to be kind of private and quiet, and, you know, just doesn't like to give a lot away. There was a funny little interview that he posted on his Twitter page, and it was one of those where it was like, cats or dogs, boxers or briefs, you know, coffee or tea. And, you know, I didn't really gain much from it. He's a cat person. He likes tea. Yeah, he prefers Slytherin over Gryffindor, you know.
Oh,
Like,
that's funny.
yeah, and of course he was Tom Riddle, so of course. But it was a bunch of those little one-offs, random. It was kind of fun, but it wasn't very informative. I think he is a very private person. That I think the reason why he wanted to leave was he was just ready to go. He's made a bunch of money. He wants to go and maybe do some, you know, stage acting
Did
or
you look
something
at the
like
couple
that.
of projects that he's got coming up?
Kind of. There didn't seem to be a lot of information online for them.
So he's got a movie called Astral that is completed. And it's a movie where a, quote, detached university student, end quote, uses astral projection to connect with his dead mother. So kind of a metaphysical, spooky movie. And then there's one in pre-production called Maestro, and it says the piano becomes a battleground for ambition, love, betrayal, and politics. So it sounds like he's got a couple of pretty big parts in these movies.
Yeah. I don't know if it's anything that I'm going to actually be interested in seeing.
I would probably see Astral, although it's not something honestly that I would necessarily seek out in the theater, but if it shows up, I'll look for it, I'll watch it.
Right. Right. I don't really recognize any of the other people in him with it. Uh, so, yeah. And of course, anyone who watched Talking Dead last night knew that he actually surprisingly was not on the show.
Right. I totally was surprised that he was not the featured cast
Yeah,
or the special guest.
he was in England, and that sort of goes towards the whole theory of he gets very homesick for England. And it's so funny to like see him with his English accent, because one of the things I keep seeing is how hard he works on his American accent, that he doesn't want it to sound phony or forced or anything. And I think that he did such an amazing job. Like I would have never pegged him as English, watching him in anything that he has an American accent. It was just there's no strange enunciations, there's no slips, nothing. I mean, I guess he spends a lot of time practicing his accents because it's very important to him. Because he thinks it's important to us too. He also thinks that basically an American having an American accent, like, we're all very self-critical of each other, but you know, we see other accents like Australian accents and English accents and German accents. We see them as very exotic, and so he didn't want to have any hint of those accents. So
It's hard to get a job in Fear the Walking Dead or The Walking Dead if you're not British or a New Zealander or
right, and Aussie, yeah, yeah. So I know you don't watch Game of Thrones, but for the Game of Thrones fans out there, his father, Frank's father, is actually plays Stannis Baratheon in Game of Thrones.
Well, that's very cool. I don't watch it, but that's very cool.
Yeah, so they've both been part of some major franchises
Yeah, no
on
kidding. That
on
family's set.
TV. His mother is also an actor, but I think her last acting credit was about 2008. So she seems to have the writing bug more than the acting bug. And I learned something tonight. His mother is Afro-Jamaican.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah. Um,
That kind of explains his darker complexion a little bit then.
yes, yes. But I did not realize that Afro-Jamaican was a thing. And it apparently, if you dive down the rabbit hole of that, it's basically the different regions of people from Africa who were brought to Jamaica as slaves. So I guess a lot of Jamaican people can trace their heritage back to like basically just three regions in Africa. So Jamaican is their own thing, but they also can trace it back to three or four places in Africa specifically. It's not just a hodgepodge melting of like all of Africa. It's very specific. So I didn't realize that was a whole new subset of people of where they identify that they're from. So I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah, I would never have known that.
Yeah, me either. Thanks,
Cool.
Wikipedia. He has never watched an episode of Walking Dead Prime.
No way. Really?
Yeah. And he has never watched an episode of Game of Thrones, so he doesn't know how his father does on the show.
Oh my gosh.
He learned to drive for the show,
Really?
which actually makes a lot of sense because there are a lot of British people who do not drive. They have phenomenal public transportation over there, and for a guy who was born in England, they have a great public transportation. A lot of people never learn how to drive. So he got to LA and got on set, and everyone was like, yeah, you need to learn how to back a car into a zombie. So he learned to drive for the show.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, good on you. You found a lot of interesting little tidbits.
You know, he is very, very shy when it comes to giving interviews or putting anything out there about himself. He's a very, very private person, which, funny enough, he looks like Johnny Depp's doppelganger, and he kind of acts like Johnny Depp's doppelganger. Like, Johnny Depp really doesn't like to put a whole lot out there about himself or his private life or things like that. And, of course, you know, we've known Johnny Depp for like 3 decades, so we know slightly more about him. But I could definitely see if Frank really wanted to continue on in his career, there's definitely a place for him as a younger Johnny Depp.
I agree. He could be the next generation of Captain Sparrow.
Yeah, he could do all the prequels of the Captain America. Because you know we're not letting that die.
Right.
Ever.
Nothing in the Disney universe dies.
Nope. Nope. We just keep putting in prequels and side stories.
That's right.
So yeah, he's pretty elusive to try and find very much on him.
Well, for being elusive, you did a good job sleuthing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, good, bad, and ugly?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. So my good was, once again, Althea. And I think it's because I feel like we really learned a lot more about Althea, even though we didn't learn a lot, if that makes any sense. You know, she made that comment about, you know how many times I've been zip-tied? And then we see her as a sharpshooter in this episode. And so I'm thinking she has more survival experience than she initially let on. She's not just a journalist.
Well, and when Strand was like, you know, they were talking about, all you want is the stories. I don't understand how you survived this long. And Luciana's like, I know how she survived this long. Because she knows her shit.
Right. And
Yeah,
so I'm thinking that either she was an embedded journalist, like one of those journalists who
goes to a
embeds with a
war-torn
particular
country.
military unit,
Yeah, and goes to some war-torn country to get the stories in film.
or maybe she was actually a military journalist before this all went down.
Yeah,
But I think she's got more survival skills than she initially let on. I think Luciana's right.
yeah,
So that was definitely my good. I really enjoyed seeing those glimpses of Al and those glimpses of just how tough she really is.
yeah. I'm definitely rooting. I'm on Team Al this season.
Me too. I think I may have to get a t-shirt.
Oh,
So what was your good?
so don't hate me. My good was Nick dying.
Okay. I'm
Um,
not going to hate you for that. It was a good moment. It was a shocking moment, but it was a good moment.
it was truly shocking. So I get the episode a couple hours after you and Thomas O'Mara,
Right.
and you guys were like, "Holy expletive deleted," and I'm like,
At
"Uh
which
oh."
point I said, "No, Marnell hasn't watched yet. Don't say anything."
And I got home and I watched the episode. I am like 7/8 the way through the episode, and I'm like, what? Killing Ennis on the antlers? Like, was that it? And then it happened, and I was like, huh, didn't see that coming. Are we sure he's dead? He looks dead. I think he's dead. Oh my God, he's dead.
He's pretty
Yeah,
dead.
I just like I still have some sort of like, no, he's under the dumpster. It'll be fine, like. But I mean, they confirmed on Fear the Walking Dead that,
Or on talking. Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry, on talking that he's dead,
Yeah.
and yeah, like I'm so I was so happy that they're so willing to kill off a main character that everyone loves, like just shock us. Because I mean, it was kept a well guarded secret in that we are still gonna see Nick throughout the rest of the season, I'm assuming. So it wasn't like Nick flew in for 3 days of filming and then stopped, and we're all like, "Oh yeah, it's because he died in episode 2 or 3," So none of us knew this was coming. It was shocking. It was something that you and I have talked about all along about let's just kill off all the cast members and start anew. And now I'm convinced they're listening to us. So,
They're listening to you.
but it was so nice to be so surprised and to have it in such an unexpected and gut-wrenching way. And it wasn't in a big firefight. It wasn't in a fight. There were so many times in this episode where Nick almost died. I mean, he had a knife to his throat. Al had a knife to his throat, and then the car accident happened, and the walkers were coming up on him, and he passed back out. Well, he wakes up again, and he's fine. And then when he's going after Ennis, two walkers fall on him and look like they're kind of getting ready to chow down on him. And here comes Morgan to save the day, and and wrestling with Ennis. Ennis kind of had the upper hand a couple of times. There was just so much foreshadowing of like he is like burning through his 9 lives, and it there was once you go back and rewatch the episode, there's so much foreshadowing to Nick's death. I
That's
mean,
a really good point. I didn't think of any of that as foreshadowing, but you're right.
and I don't want to get too deep into the weeds with it, but at the very, very beginning of the episode, him burning all of the crops and
Hmm.
then grabbing handfuls of dirt and letting them go through his fingers, and I'm just thinking ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Well, and when
And then
Morgan said to him, it's not going to turn out like you think it is.
yeah, and Madison was in the background, and they kind of focused on her, and of course she was just digging the new garden, but I mean it's like digging a grave, I mean
Oh, good on you.
there was so much along the way that we should have seen where all the signs were pointing, but I don't think any of us wanted to believe it, Like, Nick would have been the second to last person I would have been willing to lose. But I'm okay with it just because I'm loving that this season is keeping us on our toes, you know? Gong.
Well, I've got to tell you, I totally thought my first thought was not how is Luciana going to react or how is Alicia going to react, but what is Madison going to do?
Mm-hmm.
She's going to lose it because Nick has been her reason for being for so long.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what was your bad?
Well, so my bad was Ennis's death, and I told you that before we signed on. I thought it was really predictable, and I actually really felt like they stole it right from Ash versus the Evil Dead. I can't remember which Deadite got plunked onto a set of antlers, but we've already seen this gag, and it's kind of tired.
Yeah.
So I know that's kind of whiny, but that's my bad.
Yeah. It was kind of a cop out. I mean, Nick had that hammer and it was claw end first, and I was really looking for him to either sink that claw and hammer into his head or like do some damage with a pimento jar. Pimentos are disgusting. Does anybody like pimentos?
I actually happen to like pimentos. Thank you
Do
very
you?
much. Yes, I do. In olives, but
Okay, I will grant you in the olives, but on their own, I'm just like,
yeah, no, not on their own. They have to be stuffed in a green olive, but then I'm totally down
okay.
with them.
Okay, and then the olive has to be just drowned in martinis.
No. Ugh.
Yeah.
Gin. Ugh.
Ugh. We have a really good distillery here that's churning out some pretty edible gin.
No, you lost me at gin.
Oh, it's juniper gin. It's delicious.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. I was not a gin person. And maybe now I'm just an alcoholic. I don't know.
Okay, on that note, what was your bad?
So, my bad was Nick dying. And I know, you didn't stroke out. I said that my good was Nick dying.
Well,
and
you
my
told me you were
bad
going to
was
cheat,
dying.
so you kind of prepped me.
Yeah. So I kind of feel like I'm cheating, but I'm entirely serious about this. Nick dying. Nick died too soon.
There's a lot of angst in the various reviews that I read on the internet preparing for this tonight, and that was quite a bit of the complaint was that he had so much more. There was so much more to explore between him and Morgan, even as they set it up just in this episode.
Yes.
That there are a lot of people who are saying they felt like Nick died too soon.
So we're going to get a lot more backstory. So we're going to see flashback Nick. But I really think that Nick could have benefited from Morgan's tutelage. And that's one thing Nick said that Frank Delane says about his character in that he is an addict. It's not the drugs. He has an addictive personality, and I would have loved to have seen Yoda and Nick do their thing together. Did you not feel like Morgan was all Yoda with his staff?
Well, it was really funny because Lenny James actually said on Talking Dead something about, he was kind of absolving himself of things and letting Nick go, and I didn't feel that way at all. I felt like he was actually kind of proselytizing to Nick.
How do you mean?
Just kind of, take this little book and read it, and we can talk about it anytime. And
oh yeah, there at the end, because I was gonna say Nick took the book out of Morgan's helmet, like all on his own volition, while Morgan was up on the highway. So,
but Morgan was totally like, he didn't say the word Aikido, but he was like, take the book, read it, we can talk about it whenever you want.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's really letting go, Lenny James.
Yeah. I think Morgan saw a lot of himself in Nick, and I really, really would have liked to have seen those two on screen more, and we're not going to get that now. And I'm really disappointed that Nick will not get to tell his story to Al. That his story will have to be told for him.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder if Madison or Alicia will tell his story to Al.
Yeah. I'm sure he will play a large part in it, but no one could have ever really told his story but him, because he was a lone wolf a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my good and my bad was Nick dying. I mean, I love a show that is going to keep you guessing and keep you on your toes and is not afraid to kill a main character and keep them dead.
Oh, I think he's gonna stay dead.
Yeah, no, I'm just talking about something else we talked about earlier this week that you can go
Ah,
watch on YouTube if you've watched the movie.
right.
Um, but yeah, so I just it's it's bittersweet for me. So my good and my bad.
Well, your good and your bad lead right into my ugly because my ugly was Nick's death and it was a good ugly. And I think the thing that really summed it up for me visually was the very end scene where he lays down in the flowers.
Hmm.
That was just a beautiful scene and a beautiful way to end this character. I really liked that a lot.
And they kept saying that his death was so satisfactory, and I'm like, no, it wasn't. Like, for me, it wasn't satisfying. But you're right, the laying down of the flowers was very satisfying for me.
And they also said the reference to flowers was not intentional, but boy.
I know. Did we pick the wrong crossover character or what?
No
Because Carol,
kidding.
Carol would have been all over Charlie, and that would have not happened. Look at the flowers, Charlie.
So I wonder what's going to happen with Charlie.
So my bad was also Nick dying. And like I said, if you think I've cheaped out on my good and my bad and my ugly, I didn't, because this is exactly how I feel about all of it. I'm so conflicted. It was so good and it was so bad and there was so much ugly about it that I just, where do we go from here?
Well, the question is, are we going to see Madison's reaction?
Are we?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about that, or was that?
No,
Yeah.
we'll leave that in the
Okay.
Whisperer's Corner. We'll leave that in potential spoilers for people who
So
did or did not choose to listen.
when I said Nick was the second to the last person that I wanted to see go, my girl Alicia is an only child now.
Right?
And what does this do for her? What does this do for her relationship with her and Madison? She's always had a little brother or a big brother to take care of. And I don't know what this does to the family dynamic. What Luciana was talking with John Dory, and she said that she loved Nick. I mean, this was an enormous loss to our group. Why couldn't it have been Madison?
Because Madison still has more story to tell.
So did Nick, though.
I know, but Frank Delane didn't.
We will get to see him in flashbacks, but wow. Wow. I am really, really digging the additional characters this season, and I'm also happily surprised that they are willing to kill off the main core group to get us there.
So, I was reading an article that pointed out that basically the only characters left from season 1 now are Madison, Strand, and Alicia.
Yep. Yep. Took me a second, but yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
So what do you have for Rotting Potpourri?
Let's see. I really did like, I just mentioned it, but the when John Dory and Luciana were walking and he's like, I'm just going to talk to you so that I don't start talking to myself again. I think those two, I really look forward to hearing John Dory's character more. I look forward to hearing all of the new characters more, but I really look forward. I was kind of on the fence about him in the beginning because if I were a female in the zombie apocalypse, I would be entirely leery of men. So He seems to be a good guy, and I really would like to follow his character more.
So one of the articles that I read today really divided the people who are watching Fear right now into two camps. There are the people who see Fear through the eyes of the Clarks, who are like the original watchers of the series, and you and I would be included in that number. And then there are people who see the series through the new characters because they came on board as Morgan crossed over.
Hmm.
I just thought that was a really interesting way of looking at the series and kind of looking at the differences in the characters.
Yeah, I could see that. And I mean, like I keep saying, what did we say for 3 entire seasons? That they just need to kill off all of the old characters and reboot with new.
Let's not say all, because I still have a soft spot for Strand.
Well, and what's funny is when I say kill them off, I really just mean kill off Madison and and then just like sort of evolve all of the other characters into better roles.
Could you have been clearer about that, like at the beginning of this episode?
I know. I was doing my rewatch and Kim Dickens came on the screen and I'm like, ugh. And Kim Dickens, I'm sure, is a very lovely woman. She seems like it. Don't hate her on social media. We hate the character of Madison. Kim is fine.
I'm not even going to say that I hate Madison at this point. I'm not sure how I feel about Madison with the reboot.
I tire of her. So, Charlie proved one of my sayings.
Yes?
If you love something, let it go. If it comes back to you, search it for weapons. Oh, so nobody's gone until they're gone. Is Charlie gone?
Oh, she's not gone. She's going to pay for what she did.
Think so?
Yeah, I don't know how, but somehow she's going to pay for Nick's death.
Like in a bad way or in a I'm so sad, poor me. These two men picked me up and treated me nice when I was terrified, and I really didn't mean to kill Nick, but he killed Dennis.
Oh, she really meant to kill Nick.
Do you see the look on her face, though?
Uh-huh. She looked like an angry little Spitfire to me.
Yeah, I think that she was shocked by what she had done.
So, answer your own question. Is she going to pay for it out of remorse, or is she going to pay for it in a we're going to get you, Charlie, kind of way?
Will she be welcomed into the fold of our main character, or is she dying with Negan Light?
I think she might be going with Negan Light. I can't see that Madison would welcome her in after this.
So who's killing a kid?
Shh. Who's not killing a kid? This is The Walking Dead.
We really, really needed Carol for this. Like, yeah, it's like an exterminator. Do you go with a pro, or do you go with an amateur, or do you go with a pro? Like,
well,
no.
Morgan's not killing, so someone else is going to have to do it. It can't be a crossover character.
Alicia's gonna have to step back up.
Probably. Alicia or Lucy. Lucy's tough enough to do it.
Oh, yeah. That's payback. Good call. Lucy all the way.
Team Lucy!
Yeah.
So did you catch all the callbacks in the episode?
The protein bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that was pointed out on the Talking Dead.
The flowers, even though they said it was not intentional, it still felt like it was a callback to the Grove.
Yeah, look at the flowers.
Thomas O'Mara pointed out the hammer, and I was like, oh yeah, Tyrese. And he was like, no, Troy. Because remember, that's how Madison put Troy down, was a hammer to his head.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, last episode of last season. Or maybe it was second to last, but that's how she put Troy down.
I kind of think I've blocked that out because I did like Troy.
It was pretty good.
Mm.
And then The Art of Peace once again made its way back onto the screen.
For all good it did.
Well, I looked it up because I've been curious off and on about how it has been selling on Amazon. And so it ranks 10,203 on the bestsellers list for all of Amazon. So when you think about the thousands and thousands and thousands of books that are available on Amazon, it's got a pretty good following.
Yeah.
And there actually were people who commented, okay, I bought this because I saw it on The Walking Dead.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Um, so this was not on the show. It was on The Talking Dead, the new showrunners.
Hmm.
I had noticed, not this episode, but last episode, that there are slight changes in the opening scenes.
They said
And,
that, and I haven't. I need to watch them more closely.
right, I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch them because they're very, very short. They're like 5 to 10 seconds long, but apparently they give you clues about the
Hmm.
show. And I kind of want to say, I haven't gone back and rewatched, but I kind of want to say that the episode that the vulture showed up, because they show the same shot every time, and it kind of looks like it's a very distant shot of the baseball diamond. And in the episode where the vulture showed up, it kind of it kind of looked like there was a caravan kind of rolling through in front of it.
Oh,
And then
interesting.
and then this episode, it had a bunch of blue bonnets blooming in front of it.
Oh, cool.
And so I was really, really happy to know that there was like a little Easter egg that we could all pay attention to and maybe write them down and maybe they would thread together and tell a story, or maybe they're just a harbinger to come for that episode or whatever's going on with it. But I'm very, very glad that they told us this on episode 3 and not like episode like 13.
So we have to go back and watch a million, right?
Right, right. Luckily, they're like I said, they're only like 5 to 8 seconds long. So I'm gonna go back and rewatch them and see what I can figure out. See if I can figure out what they mean. And going forward, I would like to like open the show with like what I think there's different about it and what I think it means for the show. So I was really, really glad that they did do like that little minor addition that just it always keeps our brains working, and that's it keeps us coming back.
All right. Well, I think you found your new task.
I did. So, do you recognize bluebonnets, the
Um,
flower?
well, so I was going to tell you it's the state flower of Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and not all bluebonnets are blue,
Mm-hmm.
and they are very hardy and very durable, which is one of the things that is that they're known for, and I think they're also symbolic of our people that way.
Um. So I recognize them because they grow absolutely wild here in Juneau. We have two things that bloom at relatively the same time, and they have kind of the same. They look the same.
Oh, I don't
Um,
think bluebonnets are fire or are lupin. Do you?
they're lupin.
Are they lupin? Really?
They're lupin.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Their genus is Lupinus.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yes. So, is it official state flower? Is fireweed our official state flower?
No, the forget-me-not is our state
Forget me
flower.
not. Forget me not. Okay, so fireweed is something that you in Alaska you can kind of tell the season with, and the way that it's coming up and it's blooming and then it's going to seed. And they look very similar to blue bonnets, only they're much, much taller, and they get kind of this fiery reddish purple color.
They're vibrantly magenta.
Right, and so if you see fields and fields of them, it kind of looks like the fields on fire sometimes, hence its name fireweed. But the fireweed is entirely edible. The lupin is not. It's poisonous. And of course, we know the word lupin from wolf, and
Right.
it kind of for me it called back to Nick was always kind of a lone wolf.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So when I saw that he was messing around with a lupin, I was like, the
I
wolf.
I totally missed that was the species or the genus rather.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. I'll have to look for bluebonnets when I'm out with the horses this summer then.
Yeah. And I will have to look for lupins. Yeah, we call them lupin up here.
Yep.
I think they're a monk's hood, aren't they?
I don't know my herbs well enough to tell you if that's the case or not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're poisonous. Yeah. But yeah, so
So
wow,
I think Charlie is symbolic of something more. I think she is symbolic of innocence lost.
definitely.
So it's going to be really interesting to see. I think that that's going to be part of the story of Nick's revenge and why Nick was seeking revenge.
Part of it.
So
Um, how do you think Mel's gonna react when he finds out that Ennis is dead and that Charlie shot Nick?
well, I think he's going to be proud of Charlie for doing what she did.
Do you think
I think he's gonna rub it in with Madison.
do you think it's gonna affect their sort of parlay that they have now, where
Hmm.
they can they can kind of come and go as they please, and the vulture dudes are really just squatting in their parking lot.
It's going to have to because we're talking about two major characters from each camp. I mean, even though Ennis wasn't a major character for us, he was a major character for the Vultures camp.
Yeah,
So, and of course, Madison losing Nick is going to be gigantic.
yeah, that's life altering,
Unless the theories are right.
unless the theories are right. Did we go through our uglies?
Yeah, we did. Because
Okay.
you cheated, remember? You had all
I
of them.
cheated.
They were all the
I
same.
They were all the same because it was good, it was bad, it was ugly. Like I don't know how to feel. Like I'm really really happy that this show is stepping it up a notch and keeping us on our toes and keeping us watching and coming back every week, and it's pulled in some viewers that it's lost, and it's not afraid to kill a main character, but on the other hand, I really, really think Nick's time wasn't up. You know, we could have lost Strand. We could have lost
Hey
Luciana.
now.
Yeah, I know, but Nick.
I just have to respect Frank Delane's wishes. You know, he wanted to bow out and he wanted to bow out a while ago, so I have to respect that.
Yes, and I do agree with that when an actor is done with a role, if they can't leave, I think that the role will suffer for it.
Hmm.
So I'm glad that he was able to leave on a high note, and he considers he had a good death, and I remain open to that. I'm not happy about the way he went out, but we'll see what it does for the world that he leaves behind.
I'm just kind of laughing at him going out on a high note. No pun intended.
Former drug addict.
Right. Well, I don't have much else. I mean, I liked the episode. I felt like it was really shocking, but I don't have a lot else to say.
No, no. I think this was a very somber episode, and I'm very excited to see what it brings about. The
I was
chaos
just gonna
that it brings.
say, I find myself looking forward to the next episode of Fear, which took me 4 seasons to get there to be able to say that, but here I am.
It's an unfamiliar feeling. Yeah, definitely. So, I think that's all that I have also.
All right. Well,
Wrap this puppy up.
just remember,
Take it.
one
Dead.
dead day
Day
at a
at
time.
time.
We're still terrible.
It's interesting. It's always different. Such is life.
Well, everybody, have a good night. Sorry this is coming to you so late, and hopefully we will talk to you sooner rather than later next week.
Yes, and go watch us on Capes and Lunatics on YouTube.
All right. Thank
If
you,
you've
Mr.
watched
Perch.
Avengers. Yes. It's Parrot. The T is invisible.
All right. Have a good one.
Good night, guys.
Good night.